So since the Danes, here we are at Nyborg, second turn. Since the Danes were under charge orders, they go first. The Swedes were not moving from their make-ready orders that they have assigned. So again, I was going to hit on both flanks, but I was able to get control of this Danish force and bring it into something like order, although this guy was forced back from fire from his advanced position on top of the cannon. And they're trying to reform that side. But this side continued its charge, and it's hard to tell in this game whether or not you're doing well or just getting hosed. I mean, I cracked through and defeated some heavy infantry and ended up pursuing, and unit went off the map. I think overall it's good, but now that this whole line is kind of weakened. Still got the Swedes will be going next for the most part, and unless they get interrupted for some unknown reason, which I doubt will happen, and then the Danish rear line gets to move, just because you always go in the precedence of the different orders. It's really hard to tell what's going on. First of all, this thing, you don't know when it's going to actually get to move. I mean, as it stands right now, it can only move one hex. So, unless it moves its orders at least to make ready, and it probably wants to be a charge, it's not going to be able to move forward at all at a reasonable rate. Meanwhile, this is reforming. Well, it may not make it back into charge in time to attack. It's always an interesting game to me. Okay, that's the end of the second turn, actually. Not a lot happened. I mean, a lot compared to what could have happened, but the entire Danish force, the second line, has gotten moving. It's all up to the make-ready formation, which means they can advance. You see Swedes managed to rally their one unit. The Danes got somebody running. He's probably going to end up off the board because he's off of Eberstein's wing, which is currently split across with the what's his name, von Schank, moving up into the center. Schank can't help the Eberstein. Is it? No, it's Shock. Can't help the Eberstein wing units for whatever reason because of their disagreements. So unless Shock is killed or wounded or something, there's not going to be the advantage of having an overall army commander go out and try to save those units. And it doesn't really look worth stopping a wing's action to send the wing commander back to try to rally the force. So they're pretty much stuck that way, even with yeah. I mean, the only chance they'd have is a rally action, really, at this point. I'm just not going to do that. That will halt the entire wing. All right, partway through here on the third turn, and seeing we already had to kind of almost pass with the Swedish central. But the very left flank of the Danish forces is still under charge orders. It's not really effective at all. They've moved up, formation broken over here, everything here's formation broken, this guy's shaken. They're really unwilling to engage for the most part, but they can't change out of charge formation. They've tried, and therefore they can't really rally. And we're seeing this left side, I guess, of the rear formation under Shack moving up, and that's positioning itself at 2 hexes to begin a charge against the center of the Swedish line. Well, I'm not sure how valuable that's going to be. That's a pretty solid Swedish position. If they could have launched it right from there, but they haven't even formed up their units completely. They've just moved into position, and now they're going to be suffering, and already have been, some artillery fire in grazing range, which is likely to just chew them up. I don't know what to do with them. The Danish right flank here reformed, and then got a continuation with a charge. Basically broke on the Swedish left flank here, which is protected by this stream. Now here in the marshy stream area, it's not such good terrain, but everywhere else behind the stream it was very good. We see one Swedish cav unit which broke through in defense, pursuing and destroying. We have a number of Danish units destroyed now, largely from that attack. But Quast continues his exuberance and got another continuation. The Swedes were unable to interrupt it, and now he's continuing a charge with 2 more units. Rather than reform, he just wants to try to break that line so that his second line of Danes, well, under, who is this? Felt can perhaps roll up that Swedish flank. That's about the only chance the Danes have of a victory right now, is to really get a big flanking success. And this is the only front they see it on, because their forces down here are facing that line. So they really want to turn the flank at this point. So here we are after 3 turns. It's noon now. I don't know if that's actually right. Yeah, I guess so. Okay. Yeah, better be. This is a track for this game. Quast's attacks failed completely. The only success he had was down here along the river line, where he drove 1 unit back. The advance on behind him in echelon is slow. There's one of the units, I think, this guy. I think that's part of that rear line, a little out of command, but they can make their way back. Actually, if that's a cav command, it's not out of command. I'm not sure whether it is or not. Doesn't much matter, because this can move forward and put him in command before it's during its next action. Quast himself is heading back with one of his routed units. Try to bring it back. He's going to try to reform his unit when the second wing strikes in place. Over on this side, the Swedes may have gotten a little too aggressive. They smashed the Danish unit here and destroyed it, but they ran right into, not that they paid much of a price, right into the guns of 2 heavy infantry units up here. Now those are both formation broken and not in great shape, but still, that's something Cav really doesn't like to do, and they may be suffering in the long run from it. Those units did not volley fire for good reason. Volley fire is less likely, and with broken formation, it reduces the chances further. They were hoping to get some casualties. They did not. They might have caused they would cause a morale check with volley fire, but it seemed more valuable to try to kill things at this point and maybe try to turn this flank instead. They've got to turn 1. I mean, that defensive position is holding up really, really well. Far better than I expected. Okay, we saw a major break in the line where Eberstein, those 2 infantry, those heavy infantry, attacked the cav and were routed. And one of them was destroyed in the pursuit, along with Eberstein himself. Meanwhile, these infantry actually drove back and attacking cav force. And then Horn spent some time reforming his line, getting it ready. That doesn't look like a very appealing prospect to attack after what we saw happen before. If that hadn't gotten a chance to reform, if this Danish line had gotten a chance to hit it first, it might have been a viable attack, but now that's looking really unpleasant, and I'm thinking about a crossover to hit that heavy infantry. At least the guns should be pretty easy to take out, well, assuming they don't kill everything that goes up against them. And at the end of 4 turns, we can see things are not looking at all well for the Danes. We got Quast still fleeing with one of his routing units. The rest of his command is kind of stuck back here, scattered in among, who is this, Arnfeldt's forces, which tried to advance but couldn't get a charge order, so they were only up to the hedgerow at the best. In the center, the Danes haven't really suffered, but they also haven't gained any ground particularly. And then over here, with the loss of Eberstein, he's trying. The forces are trying to rally. He's got a colonel in place, trying to get things together, but that whole flank has collapsed more or less. Could be an attempt to move up there, but there's just it does not look good at all for them. I think I want to load this one up, mainly because of time constraints. I've got all night to load up videos, and I kind of have trouble getting them up at other times. So even though, again, I'm a little shorter than normal, I think it's worth it.